We move to reports. Review the vision statement. Do you want to talk to this point at all?
Maybe a little bit. Last month we started looking at and just trying to put the mission statement in front of us as we go about doing business, and always trying to let that guide where we go. I thought it might be interesting, and maybe you want to wait until the joint meeting, but if not, you get to do it twice. But one of the things that I think might be interesting is really kind of from an individual perspective, looking at how the mission statement what it means from your interpretation, and also how that can help guide what we do. And what I suggested for the joint meeting coming up is really looking at the first part of it, empowering all students. What does that mean? What might that look like would be the better question probably as from a board perspective, and how that plays out. And thinking deeply, whether it's that or however you want to do it, it's up to you, but to think deeply about the mission statement, because it really should guide what we do. So that would be my preface, at least.
I think it's a good thing to dissect it. I like it. Don't know that it needs to be done twice, but that's just my opinion. I really like it, because the one word that I take out of there is all. And we can talk about this.
You want to defer that to the joint meeting? Fine. Okay. Kevin, anything to report on me as far as administrative?
Most of what I would report on probably is better suited also during the joint meeting, in all honesty. There's a couple of items coming up on the agenda on unfinished business that we can talk about, but I think at this point, no, other than just remember, and I think you all do, you know, this is a unique year for sure, because as we start out the new fiscal year in July and now we're into August, you know, the workload of the joint boards is here, and your workload is here. And as the time goes on during the course of the year, of course, that's going to start to transfer. And it, you know, it just is, because there's going to be a whole lot of things that will be coming to this board, dealing with the master contracts and negotiations and approving policies, et cetera, et cetera. So at some point, I think the board, this board will, and the joint boards will have to figure out the timeline. Right now, it works great to go up the same night and to go for an hour ahead of time. We're probably going to have to play with that because your workload is going to increase as the year goes on. And I think you all know that, just as a refresher.
Okay. Unfinished business. A, discuss and review collective bargaining and the master contract.
Yeah.
Talk to that point
A little bit, yeah. What I did, you know, one day flows into the next. I'm not sure what day it was, but a couple weeks ago, maybe, I don't know, met with, there's co-presidents of the association from SAC and with the president of the WLVA association. And just to introduce myself and to sit down and get to know them better and let them get to know me better. And then what we talked about was process for putting the two contracts together, and then entering into the collective bargaining for what that's going to look like in the future. And then just explaining, making sure that everyone knows that the base, according to statute, is the WLBA contract because it's the larger district. And so that will become the base. And what I envisioned in that process and what I shared with them, and then it's open for fine-tuning for sure, is really just taking the two contracts and working ourselves through that with the negotiating team from SAC and also from WLPA through the language issues. And as I would envision it, and I haven't read both contracts carefully yet, but logically, why don't we set meetings up that we're going to deal with article whatever, and that's the purpose of this meeting, and we get that ironed out. And then we'll move on to the next piece. And it'll be somewhat laborious to do that, but I think there's going to be enough similarities in language that we'll go through some of that stuff pretty quickly. Of course, what we'll bog down is where there's differences. And then we just have to openly talk about that. And the process for that, I think, is pretty straightforward. We've got 2 board members that have volunteered to serve on that committee, and you're welcome to join us at the table for those discussions. We'll keep you informed, but primarily that's going to be John and I visiting with the representatives from the 2 associations and starting that process. And they didn't, we kind of talked about starting maybe in September, possibly even October. Letting teachers get their feet under them in the classroom is a real high priority, and so that's kind of what the plan will be. And then for the rest of the board, we'll keep you updated on how that process is going. But it's one that just has to unfold. It just has to unfold. And I think you'll discover that my philosophy on negotiations is that it doesn't have to be adversarial. We're all on the same team, and we want the best interest of the kids. At least that should be our motivation at all times. And so that drives it. So it doesn't have to be adversarial, and it just doesn't have to be that way. So that's setting the table for hopefully just good dialogue and then getting those things done. Don, do you got anything to add to that rather windy explanation I gave?
We probably have half the articles are going to go real fast, which half that, because we've already worked through those the last 3 or 4 years. And then we'll get to the money, the Schedule A, and that'll be the, hopefully we're there by Christmas, because that's going to take us a couple months to get to that. The coaching contracts are already on the same schedule. A lot of all of the evaluation and that stuff, those usually they're all set already. So.
Right. So unless there's questions, that's really just, it's a process thing, so you know what the process is, and that's kind of what we've laid out.
Will everything be legally, will we just tentatively agree upon until the board okays it, or that's how it is?
Yeah. Just like regular negotiations you've had in the past, but it's has to be board approved, you got. Other questions or comments?